everybody. I'm Amanda. This is Kevin
Hi there.
with A. Smith Gallery, and we're really happy today to have with us Tim Christensen.
Welcome, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me, Amanda and Kevin.
You bet.
Well, Tim received the Director's Award in our Arts and Science exhibition back at the first of the year. And so today we're going to talk about his body of work, Neotype, and Kevin.
I'm going to read Tim's bio.
Okay, good deal.
Tim Christensen finds inspiration in the nature surrounding him in North Carolina. He has a deep passion for all the life around him. This compelled him to get his PhD in genetics from Cornell and become a biology professor at East Carolina University. He balances the preciseness of his scientific training with the handmade qualities of historical photographic techniques to create compelling images of the small things we often overlook. All right.
That's me.
That is you. Do you mind reading your artist statement for us?
Yeah, I'd love to. I want to start off with just a little background before I go into the statement real quick. The title of the body of work is Neotype. And I just kind of want to talk about where that comes from real quick.
Sure.
As a lot of students of photographic history know, the first real photographs were called daguerreotypes. And they were very difficult to do. They were on polished copper plates and had very long exposures. And then in the next really big type of photograph that came along was called the tintype. And we know it as wet plate collodion. And it was called the tintype in a response to daguerreotype. It was cheaper. It was on tin, and it was called the tintype. It was available to the masses. And so in my work Neotype, I play with this just a little bit. In that in science, especially when we're talking about insect collections or any natural collections at all, there is called the type specimen. And type specimen is a literal physical specimen that's found in a museum somewhere that represents that species to all of science. It's usually a single specimen. And when that specimen is lost because of accident, fire, or damage, that single type specimen that represented the entire species can be replaced by what's called a neotype. So the neotype is now the new physical insect that is now represents that replaces that type specimen. And so when we take this concept of the tintype replacing the daguerreotype, and we take the concept of the type specimen in science, that's where my title Neotype comes from. It's a replacement for something that was before, a new type, but it's also a play on the word tintype. So in strict terms, the definition of a neotype is a specimen designated as the defining specimen for a species that replaces a pre-existing type specimen that has been lost or destroyed. And so before I grew tall enough to clearly see the ground, benign neglect was the open-ended algorithm that shaped my interactions with the natural world. Out of the house, away from the cries of my younger siblings, I'd roam. There were lots of younger siblings. Climbing fences, opening closed doors, peering down abandoned wells, spelunking the irrigation pipes running under the road, poking at dead carcasses, and stuffing overalls with my finds. More than once, my overzealous mom threw away my collections. I still feel the loss of some of those things, insignificant to adults, but full of meaning and curiosity for a child brought up on benign neglect. I'm older now, a scientist, but also an artist, still collecting insects. I see how our invention of chemistry has decimated the natural world and deprived us of our insect companions. I ask myself, what am I missing with my trained eye as I walk through the woods? I know that science is not the way we remember, it is only the way we document. These are not the same. With all this swirling in my mind, I create my artistic practice, borrowing the now ancient chemistry of early photography and merging it with modern digital techniques. I capture my insects so that I will remember them. I seek to create a ritual of engagement with my work that evokes the sense of wonder I felt as a child. As I converse with insects, But this also comments on the way science puts the living world in boxes. It seeks a new way of knowing by creating a conversation between wonder and reductionism, a conversation between the past and the future of these disappearing creatures of wonder. Each of my works starts with an insect I've collected and carefully preserved. As a scientist, I wonder at the beauty of these specimens as I focus up and down in the microscope, creating a complete image in my mind of the whole insect. To share this image with you, I take thousands of frames of each insect and create a super resolution digital composite. Insects are not digital. Converting the digital back into the analog, I use the old process of wet plate collodion. Chemistry swirls and takes on a life of its own that results in a one-of-a-kind object that celebrates and remembers insects. That's my statement for Neotype.
Very well said.
Wow, yeah.
So I'm a little confused. Neotype, what you're saying is the photograph is the neotype.
The photograph
is the replacement?
It's the replacement for the insect we're losing.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So the original is being replaced by the photograph. And part of the reason I do the wet plate as opposed to just being satisfied with a digital image is that the wet plate is one of a kind, so it celebrates the uniqueness of the insects, but it also strips some of the insect of its beauty in a way, right? We strip it of its color and its life through chemistry, the same chemistry that we invented that has developed all of the insecticides and pesticides that have killed so many of our insect companions.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you a fan of E.O. Wilson? Is that his name, E.O. Wilson?
Yeah, no, I mean, who doesn't like a good ant? I mean, absolutely.
But he was a great environmentalist, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he celebrated in particular, he was very fond of ants. And I have to tell you, my entire life, I've tried to start a good, healthy ant colony, and I've never been able to
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
He was destined.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to share your images. Can you see that?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
by the way, these are beautiful. So I mean,
thank you.
Even though they're stripped of color, they're beautiful.
Well, I'm particularly fond of the form, and when I'm collecting these insects, the way you do this is, my daughter would tell you it's a little macabre because my freezer is full of insects. You capture these things live if you can, and then I typically put them in a freezer to help them find their place in my collection.
Right.
The euphemism, and then I take them out weeks later, and I will carefully put a pin in them, and then arrange their legs and antenna in such a way that represents a species in my mind, and then I allow them to dry, and so these become dry insects that are kind of frozen in space and time, and that's how I preserve them. This particular one is a harlequin beetle, and I found it on a trip to Honduras a long time ago. And I just fell in love with it. It was quite amazing. They're quite harmless too. Look at these, and a lot of people get scared of insects, but there's not really anything to be scared of for most insects. Quite harmless.
Yeah, I imagine they're real colorful too, right?
Very, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, how about I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Say, Tim, not sure what you mean by before I grew tall enough to clearly see the ground. Benign neglect was the open-ended algorithm that shaped my interactions with the natural world. Could you explain?
Sure. So as many of you guys are aware, our lives are kind of controlled by algorithms right now. And most of those algorithms come through social media, right? So They control what we see. They often, you can say, they control how you see the world, and the lens with which you make decisions. And so I'm an old dude, maybe as old as you, Kevin.
No, I
And
doubt it.
but in our day, we didn't have those man-made algorithms to kind of control our lives. We had that, which is kind of what happens to us in the natural world. And so when I went out um, in the world, I was the first of 5 kids, and I don't think my mom had enough time for me. And so there was benign neglect that allowed me to leave the home unsupervised and roam through nature. And so that algorithm of benign neglect allowed me to kind of chart my own path through nature.
Right, right.
So,
which afforded you an opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. This is just a common fly, a green bottle. It's a common fly. This, I hate to say it, is a latrine fly.
Great.
So this is the fly that you'll find around, sewage, just to be straight. Or if you got a dog that you let take care of, pepper your backyard, you'll often find this type of fly around your backyard. They are absolutely fabulous. For my research as a biologist, I use fruit flies, Drosophila melanogaster, as my research subject. And so I happen to know flies on a deep molecular level. And so this is a personal specimen for me.
Wow. So how big is this in reality?
Really quite small, maybe 1/8 of an inch long is all. Very small.
So do you run around with a net?
Oh, it is the funniest thing to see a grown man run around with a butterfly net. It is hilarious. I have one always in my car, right? So if I see something out, I have a net in my car. One time I went to the beach, and one of the insects you'll find here, I forgot my net, and there were these great tiger beetles all over the beach, and so I had to order one on Amazon to get there next day, so that I could have the net to capture those tiger beetles.
You're relentless.
I am. I will tell you that this particular beetle, is hanging in my bathroom at home. And why is it hanging in my bathroom? Because it's a dung beetle. So I thought
we have those around here.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep. I thought this is Copris frictor, and I thought it would be appropriate for it to hang in a bathroom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a male. You can see the horn at the top there.
Right.
And if you look very closely at the full specimen, you can see that it's not completely cleaned off, if you know what I mean.
And these are the guys that roll the little balls around, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. The other interesting thing about these images is they have a metallic look, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Also enhances the beauty of them.
Yeah, the metallic silver really adds to the image. Yeah. And you can see some of the defects. I don't consider them defects, but some of the process of the wet plate collodion leaving shadows here and there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're very familiar with that.
And these are all 8x10 wet plate collodion. And I've shot all sizes. I've even shot up to 11x14, but 8x10 really brings the chemistry out, because the larger the plate you have, the harder it is to make everything uniform, and you just the chemistry decides to show itself, whether you like it or
not. Right. Well, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Let me put my glasses back on again. As a kid and budding artist, I too was attracted to the micro world of nature. I think we especially mentally catalog our youthful visual experiences, and our childhood experiences out in nature seem to loom large later in life. It appears that it was your experience as a child that led you to the sciences. I think you've talked about this already. Can you comment on this?
Yeah. I did not like being in my house. There were too many brothers and sisters. I was the first of 5. And so anything I could do to get out of the house. And I discovered at a really early age that if I flipped over rocks, there were really interesting things under rocks. So
Right.
I, I was kind of a terror in people's landscapes because if it was a landscape, I'd be turning over rocks looking for insects. Um, but I also discovered kind of patterns in nature that really I was attracted to. One of my early experiences as a scientist, a budding scientist, was daylilies. If you're familiar with daylilies, they're
Oh,
beautiful,
sure. Yeah.
beautiful flowers, and their blooms only last a day. And so I had the notion I want to understand when and how these bloom. And so I started graphing a little patch of daylilies and their blooms. And I also took weather measurements, right? And so I was about 8 years old, and I figured out that there was a peak in the bloom of the daylily several days after a good rain. And so, what was amazing about that moment for me is that as a scientist, I learned something that I'm sure other people knew, but I had no idea. I'd never read it in a book, but it was a truth that I discovered through science. And so, not wanting to be in the house, exploring nature, observing, is really what got me started.
Wow.
This particular specimen is near and dear to my heart. This is a male Dobson fly. Um, and it looks vicious, but those mandibles are completely harmless. They're more for jousting with other males. But when I was doing my PhD work up at Cornell, I was a member of a 4-H group. Then we had an insect club. And for the entire time I'd been there, this was my goal, to capture one of these. And I couldn't find one. I couldn't find one. And then the week before I left Cornell to come down to North Carolina, um, the the insect club gifted me this
Ah,
specimen.
that's great.
Yeah, um, and and the form is just incredible. These are
It is.
very primitive insects. They lived most of their life in the water. In the water, they're known as hellgrammites. Um, they're big, nasty-looking, like alien creatures that if you picked up, you'd run screaming. Um, but they come out as adults like this, mate, and then die.
Wow.
Wow.
This is a different representation of an insect a lot of people know. This is the praying mantis.
Yeah, yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's in like a Tai Chi pose or something.
It is. It's almost. It's exactly. It's a Tai Chi pose. Like you could imagine it out in a park somewhere.
That's right. That's
The
that's a
weevil.
weevil. Is that a weevil?
Yes. Yep, it is. It's an acorn weevil. There's a book I used to read to my kids, and I don't remember the title of it, but there's a line in it that says, "We are evil. We are weevil since time primeval." Um,
Uh,
Many a time I picked up an acorn, and you can see a tiny little hole in the side
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
right? And the acorn is empty because of these creatures, these
right.
acorn weevils. And they'll use that long, long snout to dig a hole in the acorn and then lay an egg. Yeah,
That snout, it looks like an old television
Yeah,
antenna.
that's exactly what I was
yeah, it
thinking.
does. It does.
How about a last question here?
Yeah.
Your choice of wet plate was perfect. It gives them the look of something we might find in the Royal Society in London. Could you tell us more about your process? Again, you've already touched on this.
Yeah. So as a scientist, I use microscopes a lot. And if anybody's used a microscope, they know that if you have a really big specimen, you have to focus up and down to really see the entire specimen in focus. And so, in the process of focusing up and down with the microscope, you build an image in your head of the specimen. And one of the severe limitations of wet plate collodion, and the Victorian age naturalists were really frustrated by this, was that it has a really narrow depth of field, right? And to do things that are really small, to get them all in focus, you need a relatively thick depth of field. But the closer the object is, the narrower the depth of field is, right?
Right.
So they couldn't, for the life of them, get good images of insects. It's very almost impossible to have a really good wet plate image of an insect from the Victorian era because photography just couldn't do it. And so what I've done here is I've mashed up the digital technologies with wet plate. So to simulate that image in the mind that you create when you focus up and down, I've taken these specimens and mounted them on a light box and taken thousands of images of different regions at different focal points of the insect. And then I take these thousands of digital high resolution images and merge them together to create a single super resolution image that's digital.
Wow.
I then print out that digital image as large as I can. It's usually 17 inches by 22 inches. And then that becomes a subject, that image, that print becomes a subject of my wet plate collodion. Right. So I'm able to achieve the goal that so many Victorian scientists wish they could have, which is using wet plate collodion to document the insects. We just had to invent digital photography before we could do that.
Right. Well, how do you handle the effects of the light box, the backlighting?
So I discovered I had to do the backlighting when I was taking the images because it would create shadows that were distracting from the specimen itself. So the backlighting, it's actually put a piece of foam in front of the light, and then the insect is pinned into the foam. It's kind of clearish foam. And then I dial that backlight just all the way down as dim as I can but it's high enough to eliminate the shadows coming from the light that I have illuminating the insect.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a balance because I want to create the illusion that the insect is floating in the silver.
Right? So I mean, there had to be quite a bit of trial and error in the.
Oh my goodness, yes. But my background is doing imaging and science, and then also previous to this work, I was doing astrophotography. So I was taking pictures of nebula and galaxies.
Yeah.
And that's a very technical type of photography that kind of informed my process.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So this moth is just amazing. A leopard moth.
And I bet it's incredibly colorful also, right?
Oh yeah. In real life, this is bright red and blacks and whites. Yep.
Wow.
This is that tiger beetle I had to order a net for.
Okay.
I was down at a beach in South Carolina with my family, and oftentimes in the beach, if you walk along, you can see these insects just about 6 to 12 feet ahead of you, jumping and like flying away from you. And they're often these very beautiful tiger beetles. One cool fact, this actual beetle is like a beautiful cream color, and then the markings are a metallic green.
Wow.
And one really fascinating thing about tiger beetles is they're some of the fastest moving insects in the world, and they move so fast that their brains can't catch up with their speed. And so the way you catch them is right after they jump somewhere, fly for a hot second, they're kind of befuddled for half a second. And in that moment of like, where am I? You come in with your net and you grab them.
That's great. Rhinoceros beetle, is that right?
It's the rhinoceros beetle. It's a type of stag beetle. Yeah. This is a male. It was a really warm night here in North Carolina. And if you go out on a really warm night in the summer and you put up a white sheet and shine a black light on it, you can catch all kinds of fascinating insects. And this was one
Wow.
that I caught doing that. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. That's a menacing looking booger.
It's and this is the female. The male's even more menacing.
What is that?
Macrodonta cerevisiae. It's often just called it's a type of longhorn beetle from South America.
Uh,
Yeah, and that thorax with those spines on it, it just that's the most menacing part to me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a beetle similar to that around here that will girdle the limbs of one tree in particular, a mimosa trees.
Yeah. Longhorn beetles, also known as cerambycids, they love to chew on trees. All of your wood boring beetles, those are almost all cerambycids, longhorn beetles.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is a periodical cicada. So you guys have heard of brood X. There's three different periodical cicadas, 11, 13, and 17-year cicadas.
Yeah, we have
And
a bunch of them here, but I don't know which one we have. Yeah.
yeah, you probably have the yearly ones.
Yeah.
But out east, we have these broods, and every very long periods of time, the 11, the 13, and the 17-year cicadas all come out at the same time. And I forget exactly the year this happened, but they all came out at the same time. And I was living in New York at the time, and there weren't any cicadas where I was, which was very frustrating. And so I drove down to Princeton, and the Princeton University was covered in these cicadas. And so it was just, you pick them up by the handful.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in Houston and we had lots of them there.
Yeah.
And you pick them up and they did some kind of buzzing thing and it'd buzz your hand and kind of freak you out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they do that to get rid of you. It works really well. Yeah.
Oh man.
So you remember that tiger beetle I showed you from the beach? This is
Yeah.
another tiger beetle. It looks very different. This is an African tiger beetle. It's one of the biggest tiger beetles in the world. It's about yay big. So this, in my mind, is the scariest bug here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially at that size.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is, so one thing about this is it's got some bright orange markings, but as many of you know, orange does not photograph in wet plate collodion. It comes out black. This is a carrion beetle. And I found it on a dead mouse. And this beetle still stinks. Years later, you do not want to get anywhere near this beetle. But the textures on the thorax there, those tiny hairs, that almost shield of hairs is just fascinating to me. And then those clubbing antennae. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So this is called a trilobite beetle, and this is from Southeast Asia. I did not collect this one myself, but they are fascinating. And this is the underside, the dorsal side. And what's fascinating about this, it's a beetle, but this is the larval stage of the beetle. So most insects have a larval stage and then an adult stage, and beetles are no different. They have a larval stage and adult stage. Think of butterflies. The caterpillar is the larval stage, and then the butterfly is the adult stage.
Right.
Beetles are no different. They have a larval stage and then the adult stage. And this is the larval stage of this beetle. And for the longest time, nobody could find the adult version of this beetle. The adults don't live that long, and they're really, really small. But these, the reason I love this is because I have had a dream since I was a little child and found my first trilobite fossil of finding a real live trilobite.
You almost got it.
Yeah, almost got it right here. About as close as I'll ever get. Yeah.
We have
And
those around here. I don't know what that is, but
this is a beautiful, another cerambycid, a longhorn beetle.
yeah.
And this has, in its normal color, it's got a beautiful blue color, blue and black. And then what I absolutely love about this specimen is those antennae and those little hairs. So the reason that a lot of beetles have really long antennae is the same reason we have two eyeballs set apart. So, this, because we have two eyes, it gives us depth perception.
Right.
Right. Well, the antenna on beetles give them smell depth perception. So the bigger the antenna, the farther they can scent things and the better they can locate things. And so oftentimes the long antenna allow them to find things that are miles and miles away, using differences in the signal between those two antennae.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And this is a rove beetle. One thing that's really special about a rove beetle is, for me at least, is you wouldn't know that it has wings, but almost all beetles have wings. So you see the head segment and then the thorax, and behind the thorax is that another segment, and under that segment are some wings that make origami look like child's play. So those wings are folded and tucked in, and it unfolds those wings and comes out and can fly away. And this is really, really small. This insect is very, very small.
Wow. Very cool.
And you guys have holes in your eaves of your house. You can
Yeah,
blame
is that a
this.
carpenter? Is that like a carpenter bee or?
It is a carpenter bee.
Yeah, I've got some. As a matter of fact, I'm a woodworker. I've got some that buzz around in some of the lumber I have out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So how do they eat into the wood? What they have real
They have
strong mandibles? Is that what it is?
exactly really strong mandibles, and for whatever reason, I think they use imperial system because it's a 3/8 inch hole. They're not metric animals; they're imperial.
I think that's the last one.
All right, wonderful.
We have a lot of mesquite trees around here, and I've done a lot of work with mesquite. And there's some kind of a beetle that has larvae that eat the mesquite and live in the mesquite, and it's huge and it's yellow and it's probably almost 3 inches long. What is that? Do you know what that is?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's probably a cerambycid, a longhorn beetle.
Yeah. Okay. Because you got to be, I mean, they got to have some tough teeth to eat that mesquite. That's something.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been really informative and fun.
Well, let me hold there for a minute. Let me show you something.
Okay.
So I have to give a shout out to one of my mentors for my MFA, Daniel Carico. So this book here,
Yeah.
Aliens Among Us.
He's a
He
virgin
took
gallery.
Yeah.
he took some of my specimens and included them in his book. He's got a different technique. But what was really fun about this is I wrote the captions for all of his work in here. So all of the
cool.
insects.
Very cool.
Yeah. So the house centipede.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did the text and he did the images. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dynamite. Very cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
All looks good.
it looks fantastic.
So do you have more of these?
Oh yeah, I have in my show I have about 20 some odd, and I sent you a video of that. Kind of a quick walkthrough in my show. And just for those of you who haven't seen the videos and may not see the videos, the way I present these in a gallery is they're actually in a box, and that box has hidden a motion sensor. And so as you approach the box, lighting turns on that gradually fades to brighter and brighter and brighter so that you can see the insect almost encased in a box.
Wow.
And then
That's
And then
incredible.
as you walk away, the light fades away, and so the insect disappears. And so
That's
to engage
brilliant.
with it, you have to
Yeah.
walk up and get it to turn on. Um,
That is
Very
really
cool.
so
cool.
I have about 20 some odd that I've had in the show, but I've taken tintype images of about 50 of my insects at this point.
Wow.
So the images in the box are the actual tintypes.
The actual
Yeah.
tintypes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. I'd love to see that. That sounds
No,
incredible.
it is. It's a bit of a trick because I don't believe in seeing wires, and so I have a technique where um, I use copper foil that is covered up by paint to actually wire the entire show. So you don't actually, these things, you don't actually see the wires.
So they're not battery operated. It's actually running off a.
It's running off, it's a power supply plugged into an outlet somewhere, and the copper foil tape is basically painted over. You
On
don't
the
even
wall.
see.
It's just a strip on the wall that you paint over.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Wow,
great.
so
that's
you don't,
brilliant.
Yeah.
and so
That is brilliant.
you
Yeah.
don't see any of the wires anywhere.
Wow. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish we had a gallery and we could show
I do
that.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's been really good talking to you. And
Oh, thank you.
Tim, fascinating work. And
Thank you. It's lots of fun.
yeah. And it's incredible how it covers for you as a scientist and an artist, it covers your entire life. I mean, it goes from your
Oh, yeah.
childhood. Yeah.
Well, I think who we were when we were kids, if you're lucky, comes through when you're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it does for me. I'm still a big mess.
You like bugs.
Yeah, I like bugs.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
That's been great.
keep up the good work and thanks so much for doing this.
All
Yeah.
right. Thanks for having me.
You
Okay.
bet.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.